Hey everyone, this is Dr. B from Steps to the Future coming to you with this week's College Conversations. So, this week we are actually going to talk to one of my favorite colleagues and friends, Barbara Crudale, who is the Director of Guidance and School Counseling at South Kingstown High School in Rhode Island. So, one of the things I'm doing, hopefully doing throughout this series, is introducing you to different people in different careers. Because one of the things that we have found is that sometimes students think about a career they may want to enter, but however, they're not quite sure of what it entails. I always try to encourage my kids to do informational interviews, and sometimes some are better at doing it than others. So this way, what I'd like to do is like to put it out there so students will get to learn and about different people, about different occupations. So that is going to be pretty cool. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in my colleague here, Barbara. Whoops. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, we're new programs. You know how technology goes sometimes. And then also, folks, if you have any questions, you have any concerns, you want to make comments, please, we'd love for you to throw it up there in the chat box, because this is all about helping you learn about different professions so that you can help students, or you can help your students, or you can help yourself. So this is something we definitely want to make sure that you have an opportunity to use. So Barbara, first of all, as we begin, it's wonderful seeing you.
It's good seeing you too. It's so good with technology. Although you're so far away, we're still together.
It is. So folks, let me just give you a little background on how Barbara and I know each other. We're both school counselors. We both belong to the same professional organization in our state. When I lived in Rhode Island, we belonged to the Rhode Island School Counselor Association. Barbara and I have, we also taught in the counselor education program at Providence College. And our classes were on Monday nights. So we always used to meet about 15 to 20 minutes before class and sit out on one of the benches outside the chapel and solve the world's problems. I mean, we were so good at that. So good at that. We also had the opportunity to present at numerous conferences together.
Mm-hmm.
So, we go way back, and we had a great opportunity to work with each other. And then, just hanging out as friends.
It's true.
So, pretty cool. So, Barbara, first of all, you're a school counselor. So tell me, but also not just a school counselor, you're the director of your department.
I am.
That puts a whole different spin on things. So tell me, what is some of your main responsibilities as the director of guidance and school counseling?
When I became director about 5 years ago, one of the questions I was asked if I still wanted to have a caseload. And I felt it was really important to have that connection all the time with kids. So I fought to maintain a small caseload. So I have about 75 to 100 students on my caseload. So I'm responsible for them, but also responsible as a department chair in keeping the department going. So in terms of implementing the ASCA model, writing curriculum, working with administration, putting together the master schedule, which is one thing I'm working on right now. Working, unfortunately, also in charge of AP testing and SAT testing, because that's not my favorite thing, but it's part of the job. And making sure that the counseling profession is always part of the conversation, either with the administrator's central office or with our administrators in our building.
Okay, so Barbara mentioned ASCA, that's the American School Counselor Association. So that is the national organization that represents school counselors. And if you're going to be a school counselor, you definitely need to be a member of ASCA. So Barbara, tell us pre-COVID, because things really have changed a lot. What is a typical day or a typical week like for you as a school counselor?
The thing I love most is that there really isn't a typical day or a typical week. However, there are standing meetings that I do have every week. Every Wednesday morning in our school district, we have something called Common Planning Time. So it's an hour, first thing in the morning, where just the counselors and I get to meet and plan out what we're doing for the next coming weeks. On Fridays, we have a standing meeting with administration. So we can add things to the agenda. Sometimes they do. It could be talking about summer school, credit recovery. It could be talking about new programs that we want to implement. So we've had that going on now for about 4 or 5 years, those standing meetings on Fridays. Sometimes I have to still attend 504 meetings for my students or IEP meetings, meet with parents to talk about scheduling or academic difficulties or social emotional difficulties the students having. Almost every week too, as a department chair, I have to attend department chair meetings with all the other department chairs and my administration. So again, in those meetings, just making sure people know the importance of school counseling and that we really do have a huge role in the building.
Okay, that's really important. I remember, my time in Rhode Island, working at Providence College as the counselor in residence. That was one of the things that we worked on so hard, was having people understand the role of a school counselor. We don't just go out and do lunch duty and bus duty and all that other stuff, or just talk to kids when they have issues. We're kind of like the hub of the school, because we know everybody. We work with every person in the from classroom teachers to the support people to the nurses to the janitors to the cafeteria people. So we kind of touch base with everybody else that works in the school.
We
so
do.
There is a lot of that. Yeah. So
and a lot of people in the community too.
Yes, that's true, because we are, between parents' nights and open houses and any other programs that we may have going on. That is so, so true. So being a school counselor, what do you like most about your job?
I do love the variety. I taught health for about 10 years before I went into school counseling, and I really do enjoy meeting with different students all the time. Some of my favorite aspects of it, though, is working with the students when they're talking about what do they want to do with their future and exploring lots and lots of options. And then I love when they follow up with me after they graduate and tell me what they've been up to.
Yes, that is so cool. Isn't that so cool when you see your kids growing up?
I know.
You're actually like out in the world and you say, oh, maybe they were listening to me. I didn't think they were, but I guess something I said, Peyton, something stuck.
Yeah. And all the different things they do. I had one girl who did a bridge year and did it in Senegal. And while she was there, when the timing was right and the internet was working, we'd still keep in touch. And I have met her when I visited Paris once. She was working there, so I visited her there. I visit her now that she's home. So it's just nice relationships sometimes you develop with your students that continue on beyond graduation.
Okay. So as a school counselor, what do you like least about your work?
I would say as director, because I didn't have to do this when I was as a school counselor, but it's definitely taking care of like standardized testing.
Yes.
SAT, AP. It's incredibly stressful. There are so many rules. There's so much to it that definitely is the most stressful part of my work.
So, in just talking about testing, so how are your kids, or do you know, because I know with COVID, the communication isn't always what we want it to be, but how are your students dealing with this upheaval with the testing world right now?
The juniors are so worried that they're not going to get a seat to take a College Board SAT test. Every time I get news that another college has gone test optional, I am so excited, because that's one less school that they have to worry about.
That is so true.
And I don't know how this is all going to work out. We're supposed to be doing an in-school testing day in October.
Ooh.
But right now, we don't even have a plan to go back to school yet.
Right. So that's right. Rhode Island is a SAT state now.
Yes.
Yes. So, but when I was there, it wasn't. So that's just been since the 10 years that I left. Well, 10 years is long. A lot of things can happen in 10 years. So what that means for folks who don't understand, when a school is a SAT or an ACT state, it means that state has a contract with that company. Mm-hmm. So that they provide testing to all of the juniors. Is it just juniors for Rhode Island?
Juniors for SAT and PSAT for sophomores in the spring.
Okay. So these companies have a contract with the state. So that's how they're hoping to hold on to that.
Mm.
Instead of looking at, waiting for the whim of a 16 or a 17-year-old to sign up for the test, they have a state contract. So now they have all the juniors, and then also in your case, all the sophomores to take the SAT. So again, a lot of money going on here, and we're seeing a lot of pivoting going on with this going on because, I know recently SAT or College Board tried this online AP stuff, and were a lot of things about it that weren't too good.
Yeah, it was really difficult for some students, especially if, when College Board first came out, it was like, well, whatever device you have. But for some students, their only device was a phone. So even though it was 2 questions or it was essay, to actually be doing that on your phone was extremely difficult. And some students didn't have any technology. So it was a huge learning curve. And I'm really curious to see when this is all said and done, how many students actually sat and took these tests.
Yeah. So we actually have a comment from one of our viewers, Tim Finnegan. Tim is at LaSalle.
Yes.
I actually had Tim in class.
Me too.
I taught the career class at PC, and he's saying that he's not sure he wants to proctor that August test.
Yeah.
So why don't you want to proctor the August test? Let us know. Is it the COVID-19? I know I'm not too eager to get back out there just yet. So I'm kind of like staying in the background with certain things. So Barbara, you talked about when you work with kids, you're talking with them about different things. So what kind of problems do you have to deal with as the director, and also, in your school counseling role?
In my school counseling role, it really runs the gamut. It could be, a student with suicidal ideation, which is not common, which I'm really happy about that. But a lot of students have anxiety or depression. So we work in close collaboration with the mental health staff with students who are exhibiting those symptoms. It could be parents in my role as director who are not happy with the courses or with the teachers. So kind of helping people, how do you navigate that if you're not happy with what's going on in your child's classroom? Other roles that I have with students, it could be working with them on their essays, working with them for their college applications. For students who aren't really sure about the whole application process, it's, a lot of one-on-one with them, helping them through the process, because it's certainly changed than once their parents filled out applications. So a lot of students just need some help with that.
Yeah, that's true. So Tim is saying here he's not sure being in a room with 25 to 30 students in late August is a great idea.
No.
Yeah, it's not a good.
They would decrease that number.
But now, so Barbara, before we go on, we're talking about, this is also to help students who are thinking about becoming school counselors. So tell me a little bit about the education that's required to become a school counselor.
First of all, you need an undergrad degree. So kind of think about what your interests are. Though truly, whatever your interests are, you could move into school counseling for your master's program. My undergrad was in health. And I really enjoyed working with students and teaching students, but I realized after student teaching, I wanted to do more. So that's when I entered the school counseling program. So I really like that one-on-one aspect that I get with the school counseling program. And then you have to find a college that offers a master's program degree in school counseling. Many of them are certified by a program called KCREP. The program that I graduated from did not have that degree attached to it, that certification. However, they follow all the standards.
Right.
So, when I teach and when Belinda teaches at Providence College now, we make sure our students are all following KCREP standards.
Right.
So there are online programs now. There are face-to-face programs. Obviously, there's hybrid programs. So you have to find one that's going to work with you, work with your time, and that you feel comfortable with. And also, how much experience are you going to get working with students?
Right.
That's huge. Because if you're not getting a lot of experience with students, then what are you going to do when you get a job?
Yeah. It's not the kind of job where you want to learn on the job training, because there's so much going on that you really want to have a good foundation when you go in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you hit the ground running as a school counselor. And it starts the moment, well, I was going to say the moment you walk in your office door, but for some folks, it starts in the parking lot when you're getting out of the car. There's sometimes students there waiting for you.
Yep. Or at the coffee shop where you stop to get a coffee or a tea on your way in.
Yes, yes, that is so, so true. So I know previously in Rhode Island, in order to become a school counselor, you had to be a certified teacher. And they did away with that requirement. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. So one of the things that's important for people to know, if you're planning on looking into the field of school counseling, you need to know what the requirements are by states, because each state has different requirements. So I know when I became a school counselor, and I know when Barbara became a school counselor, we had to be certified teachers. That requirement in our home state of Rhode Island is now gone. And then I know so the students now have to take the praxis test, right?
They do.
For school counseling. Now, we didn't have to do that.
No. Yeah.
Time. I mean, yeah.
So I was asked to sit on one of the boards that was reviewing the questions of the praxis a few years ago. It's a very comprehensive test that covers everything that you learn in your program, with probably 3 to 4 questions kind of like per class that you take. But that's another piece that you do have to pass the praxis. But each state has its own cutoff for the score that you have to get. So that's another piece of something you would have to check into.
So I remember when I was relocating to North Carolina, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. So I said, well, I wanted to keep, I was keeping my certificate because I have lifetime certification in Rhode Island, but I also wanted certification in North Carolina. And I had to take the praxis.
Oh, no.
I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "I haven't read, because it went right along with the coursework that we had. But I mean, I had that coursework a while ago. I said, okay, I've got to study for this thing. So I did. I did meet the cutoff, so that was good. So I kept that certification for North Carolina a few years. But then once I started the business, I said, okay, I don't want to continue keeping the certification because it also meant I think taking classes, and I said, no, I don't want to do that. I need to put my energy elsewhere. So tell me, so what are some of the current issues and trends in school counseling that people should know about, or people interested in this career should know about?
I wouldn't say it's a trend because it's been going on in Rhode Island for a while, but you're not just working with kids one-on-one. You will be in the classroom delivering lessons, so you need some expertise in that. So hopefully the master's program has prepared you for that. We do lessons on career exploration, study skills, some social emotional pieces, some lessons on brain development. So you need to be comfortable to walk into a class of students who you don't know most of the time, because they may not be on your caseload, and prepare a lesson. In our department, I'm really, really lucky because my counselors, there are 4 of them and me, we all work collaboratively to develop our lessons and to present them. So that's huge. So that's a big piece. That's not really a trend, but sometimes I think people don't realize it's part of the counseling job.
Right. And being classroom teachers beforehand was such a perk, such a benefit for us, because we knew how to create a lesson plan. It's not just creating the lesson plan, it's going in there, delivering it.
Yeah.
There's all that classroom management that has to go on and stuff. And it always amazes me when people go into a classroom who haven't been in one before, and they're like, oh, teaching, that's so easy. Then you go in there and it's like, wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
No.
So it is different. And yeah, I remember the other thing. So the other thing that I think that we may be seeing more of, well, this has been going on for a while though, since the Ask a National model, is counselors really getting comfortable with using data. Being able to show how there have been changes in student behavior or course-taking patterns or whatever that can be linked, hopefully, to the school counseling program.
Yeah. You constantly have to look at the big picture for the entire school. And like Linda said, you are the hub, so you see everything that's going on in the building. So is there a problem with maybe freshman English. You notice like a trend where a lot of students are failing that. So what's going on there? Is there a trend where a lot of students now decided to pursue careers in a certain field? Then you need to have knowledge on that. So you are constantly looking to see what are the trends. If you put an attendance program into place, is it working? Is it not working? So looking at that data is hugely important. And I think sometimes because we've been doing it a long time, I forget that that's not something that a lot of counselors do.
Right. That's so true. I remember, all the professional development workshops we had on using data and how to infuse it into our school counseling programs. It's funny because I still use some of that stuff now.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. So we have someone else saying hello from All About Colleges. Hi, Teresa. How are you? Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
So I have with me today Barbara Crudale, who is the Director of Guidance and School Counseling at South Kingstown High School in South Kingstown, Rhode Island. And as I said at the top of the hour, Barbara and I have worked together. Oh my God, like it feels like forever. So as a matter of fact, you only had 3 kids, 2 kids when I first met you.
Well, let's see. Thomas just turned 22.
Yes, and now she has 4 sons and the baby.
And the grandchild, yes. So.
Oh my God. So yeah, we've known each other quite a while then.
We have.
That has been a while. And Tim says he said he had both of us in Friartown.
Yes, he did. He did.
Both of us. So that's really cool. So we talked a little bit about, the education that students need. So once you have the education, and if you're lucky enough to land a position as a school counselor, what are some of the professional associations that would be good for students to join?
Definitely your local organization, your state organization. Linda and I have been leaders in Rhode Island School Counselor Association. And I have to say, when the whole COVID started happening here, like early March, the amount of information we were getting was incredible. It was overwhelming. Like, you can use this program, you can use this platform, what should you be doing? So about 4 of us, 1 woman for the state level, the current president of Rhode Island School Council Association, and the former president, and I started talking about how we're going to organize all of this for the rest of our counselors in the state. And that was a lot of fun. Like, it was intense to get this together for a lot of people, but we created spreadsheets and calendars and templates for people to use. So definitely your state organization is a place that you should go. But additionally, like Linda mentioned, the American School Counselor Association, I can't even tell you the amount of professional development that I've gotten from them. There are online features. There's a periodical that comes out every month. There's journals. There's so much support out there for school counseling. So highly, highly recommend to join the American School Counselor Association too.
Yeah, I'm still a member of ASCA, and there are so many times I said, okay, I want to do this, I want a career activity, or I'm looking for this, and I'll go into there. So, as a member of ASCA, we're able to go into the members only part of the website and get information about, additional lesson plans, or you can ask somebody through ASCA Scene, like, hey, this is what I want to do. How are you doing it? So it's that ongoing professional development. So tell me a little bit about attending ASCA's conferences.
Oh, I love the ASCA conference. I wish it was closer every year. Belinda and I both are presented at the ASCA conference. Actually, the first time I went, it was as a presenter. Like, I just didn't show up. We had put together a presentation and it was accepted, and we actually got to present to a group of people there. And then in subsequent years, many of us, a small group of us here in Rhode Island, actually put together proposals every year to go. There is so many workshops you can attend. Actually, last year was in Boston, so I got to go again, so that was exciting. In one day, you can attend 7 or 8 workshops, and the amount of information you get so excited because you can't wait to go home and try some of these out. But also the networking and just seeing people who, like Belinda and I don't see each other all the time, or other national school counselor educators that I've read about or actually heard speak. It's an amazing, amazing event. So if you ever get a chance to attend the national conference, I highly recommend it. And then this year it's online.
I know. I was just looking at that earlier today, and I said, "Oh, ASCA at home." I
Yes.
said, "Yes." I said because I haven't been able to go to the ASCA conferences in. I think the last one I went to was that one before. I think it was in Boston. So
Oh,
that's
Boston. Yeah.
that's been a while. So
Yeah.
I haven't been able to go to the conference because with my other association, it kind of conflicted with all the travel and stuff. So I was so thrilled to see that they were doing it, ask at home is what they call it. So yes, I can go. Maybe I can like virtually see people that I haven't seen in like forever.
I know.
That'll be really cool. So there's a question from Teresa. She said, in our states, do we have to be a classroom teacher before becoming a counselor?
I think there's only one state left now that has to be there. I'm not sure which it is, but
I know. So Teresa, and we both got our school counseling degrees from Rhode Island, and at the time we became school counselors, you did have to be a certified teacher. But now that rule is no longer in place in Rhode Island, and I'm pretty sure it's not in place here in California. And as Barbara said, there may be only one or two states, if that many that are left. So the best thing to do is to go on to the Department of Education's website for a state that you're interested in, and find the section that talks about school counselors, and it will tell you whether or not you have to be a teacher. But like Barbara said, I really think it's only about maybe one or two states now. So, that was a requirement because people felt it was a hindrance to people getting into the profession. However, I used to think, yeah, but when you have to go in the classroom and do those guidance lessons, it's really a benefit to have that experience, with you. So tell me, so someone that wants to become a school counselor. So I know right now that school counseling positions are tough to get.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who is interested in becoming a school counselor?
First of all, if you're willing to move, because I think in other areas of the country where there are explosions in the number of school-age children, then you probably have a better shot at getting a position there. However, while you're in high school, while you're in your undergrad, any chance that you get to present a lesson, and by that I mean like maybe being a camp counselor, or maybe you're organizing kids, or maybe you're teaching kids a sport or something like that, because all of those skills will help you once you become a counselor.
Right.
Once you finish your counseling degree, you have to figure out how are you going to stay current in the field, how are you going to still learn about what's going on in the field before you actually get your job. So one of the questions that I always tell my graduate students is, that is the question I'm going to ask you if you're sitting in front of me for a position. How have you stayed current in the field? So did you join ASCA? Did you join local state association? What have you done to read up on it, read books about it? How are you staying current? So that's really, really important after you get your degree.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true, because your education does not stop with a degree. I mean, I know we were going to conferences, to the national conference. We were going to our state conference. We were doing all kinds of professional development opportunities all the time. And all of these associations that Barbara was talking about, most of them, they all have professional journals or magazines. So that's another way to stay on top of it. So the other thing that people can do to stay on top of things, and I know you're a member of it, is some of these closed Facebook groups.
Yes, it's
So
true.
Tell me about your experience with those.
There's one, for instance, for AP coordinators. Maybe the 600 of us across the country, or actually it's around the world, that were incredibly supportive and helpful for each other during the past couple of weeks of online AP testing. If I had a question, it was quicker for me to throw it out there on the Facebook page and get an answer than to hunt around or call it, college board or something like that. So that's one of them. There's a high school counselors network that I belong to. Again, a lot of great information. Like Belinda said before, if you're looking for a lesson or you really don't know how to put something together, you just throw the question out there, and people are so incredibly helpful.
Yeah, they are.
I think in other professions too, but definitely in the counseling profession.
I know. We're supposed to be helpers,
We do. And sometimes it's just a joke that somebody throws out, or sometimes it's like a serious question somebody throws out. So those are all really helpful. And then there's a third one, which is college admissions officers and high school counselors. And that one too, they don't joke around too much on that one. They're very serious. But lots, again, of really, really good information that you can get from there. So, and then, the nice thing about a social media page is you don't have to read it all the time, but it's there if you have a question.
Right. So how did you help transition your school counseling program and the work you do and your counselors do with students to this online venue when COVID hit everybody?
Oh my! The first week was they moved our April vacation to March, so we had a week to kind of prepare, and then school opened again. So we spent the first week of school, meeting every single day, figuring out a plan, looking at what the Rhode Island School Counselor Association had put out, and kind of figuring out, okay, where is the need? And the need early on was just connecting with students.
Right.
Did they have technology? Did they have a laptop? Did they have meals? And then whether or not they were attending classes, and doing a lot of follow-up with the deans on that. So that's where we started back in March. And I also started, in Texas, you have to be a classroom teacher.
Yeah.
Doing the research.
Won't be going to Texas.
And one of the first things I started with, which I haven't done when we've been in school, is a weekly newsletter to parents.
Okay.
And then each of the counselors were doing weekly newsletters to each of the grades, which then morphed into a weekly meeting, drop-in session for each of the grades. But I've kept up the weekly newsletters to parents. Sometimes I get great feedback. Sometimes parents are kind of curious why I'm putting stuff out there, but it's been a really nice vehicle for a couple of reasons to give information to parents in a really clear way, but also just to keep the face of school counselors out there in forefront every week to the community.
Okay. So how did for your rising seniors, how are the school counselors working with them? Because, they can't go and visit campuses. So much changed in, we are so programmed to how we do our college search, how we think about college admissions, and everything now has just been tossed up into the air. Like, whoa, how are we going to do this now? So how are the counselors working with their now rising seniors?
Couple of things we're doing. One is all of our hard copy forms that we have the students fill out. Sometimes I am a paper person. I like the hard copies, but our clerk in our office is going to change those all to writable PDFs. So recommendation forms that we have them fill out for teachers, a form we have them fill out for us to write our letter of rec, that's all going to writable PDFs. We also have set up meetings with, like a workshop, with seniors on the panel answering questions from the juniors.
Oh, that's good.
So we've been doing one a week for the past 3 weeks, and the students really seem to appreciate that and like that. Fortunately for us, before COVID hit, we had already done our post-secondary planning night.
Okay.
So parents had an opportunity to ask questions then. And now we're doing a lot of one-on-one. I had a meeting today with a student, started out about our schedule next year, but then it morphed into, what are you doing this summer? What are you writing your essay about? Having those conversations.
Right. Yeah, that is so important. So what would you, if you could do it all over again, would you choose the same path for yourself?
I think so. I entered undergrad as a nursing student.
Oh, okay.
And
How did I never know that?
I don't know. And that lasted until second semester freshman year, and taking anatomy and chemistry at the same time was a disaster. Um, so then I had all these science credits. So I was like, what was I going to do? And I said, oh, I'll become a health teacher. So that's how I kind of got on the health teacher mode, first in community health, and then decided to do my student teaching in health. And the more I taught all these health topics, I could see the correlation to working in school counseling. So I think I would have done school counseling eventually, even if I hadn't kind of got derailed a little bit in college and kind of made up my mind what I wanted to do. It's been a great profession. You know, I work in the district that I live. I got the opportunity to travel and do all sorts of great presentations with Linda and a lot of other my colleagues here. I get to work with the students that live in my town about what they would like to do later on in life, and helping them through high school, all the crisis that they have then. So if I had to do it again, I probably would.
Okay. So talk a little bit about what you do in the counselor ed department for Providence College.
So I've taught many classes at Providence College. I've taught the intro principles of guidance classes, where you kind of introduce people to the idea of becoming a counselor. But my current class that I teach, and the favorite class I teach, is at the end of the cycle. So it's practicum. So right before students are ready to go out and do their internships, they spend a semester with me. We practice doing what I call real counseling sessions, because they're with people you may know, but you don't know what the person's going to say, unlike in pre-practicum where it's kind of scripted. So we work on those, and we also talk a lot about what is your passion in school counseling. There's so many different venues you can go in. You know, like Belinda loves the college piece, but also the career piece, right?
Career piece.
Yes. I love working with transitions, like moving kids from one school to another, and then eventually from, high school beyond that. So all of us have our own little niche in the idea of school counseling. So you need to find out, what are you passionate about? Like, why do you want to go into this? And then develop those resources so you become an expert in that area.
Yeah. So Barbara, we're at about, we're a little bit past 7:30 now. And
of course we are.
Barbara has to go feed the goats. Barbara's one of these Renaissance women. So they have all these beautiful like baby goats and stuff at their place. And she makes goat cheese, and she makes goat milk lotion and soap and all that other wonderful stuff. So in addition to being a fabulous counselor, she's doing all this pretty cool stuff. So it's pretty neat. So again, just any last words that you'd want to give to someone that's interested in becoming a school counselor?
It's a highly rewarding field. It's a lot of hard work. You are not sitting in an office drinking coffee and eating bonbons all day. Your work will mostly go unnoticed, though, because that's what people think you're doing, if they don't really understand the role of the counselor and what the counselor does. So you need to meet with administration. You need to make them know and understand what the job really is. And then your voice is heard, and you can do it for students. Yeah.
So Tim is saying she does it all. Yes, she does, Tim. I always tell her she's the Renaissance woman.
You need ways to de-stress from working. So
I know, it is pretty cool, and I like that goat milk lotion. It was really nice.
Some might have to come to North Carolina when I visit again.
I know. So Barbara, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you being here, and I'm sure we will catch up. And folks, hang on, because I just want to introduce a book for you. And Barbara, you can just, if you need to, do you need to go?
Not yet. I want to hear your book review.
All right. So here's a book that is so appropriate for everything that's going on right now. So this book is called Interrupting Racism, Equity and Social Justice in School Counseling, and it's by Rebecca Atkins and Alicia Oglesby. This book really does a fantastic job of talking about the inequities within school counseling, things that school counselors can do in order to help their schools. And so some of the chapters are, teach them well, anti-bias, social emotional learning for students. The benefit of staff reflection, because when you start doing anti-racist training, there's a lot of self-reflection, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that in our nation in the years and days to come. This is it's one of those books that I think every school counselor should have, and it's new. I mean, it came out last year, 2019, and both of the authors. So Rebecca Atkins, one of the authors, is the senior administrator of elementary counseling in the Wake County Public School System. So she's in my state, and she served as a school counselor for 12 years. She's a frequent presenter at state and national conferences. And Alicia Oglesby is a professional high school counselor in Washington, D.C. And she has an extensive background in serving low-income Black communities, and she continues to advocate for equity on the local and national level. So, folks, this is definitely one of those books that should be in your library if you are planning on becoming a school counselor, or even if you're just in education. It's a good book for you to have for your resource, just for your own learning. So again, interrupting racism, equity, and social justice in school counseling. So folks, next week I will be bringing you again another college conversation. And again, as I told you, I'm working on this whole series where we're looking at different careers. So next week I have on tap someone who is a college athletic coach. So he's going to talk about what it takes and what it means to be a college coach. So again, Barbara, thank you so much for joining us.
This was so fun.
Appreciate it. And it's so nice seeing you because we don't get to see each other that often. So we have to take it when we can. So those of you who joined us, thank you so much. Those of you that are watching this on the replay, make sure you share this out with other people. If you have students, if you're a school counselor and you want your students to get a taste of what you do, because when we're telling our kids, they're like, yeah. So this is a good way for people to understand a little bit about it. And I'll put some stuff in the show notes about some of the organizations that are important to belong to and what have you. But again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we're going to sign off tonight. So I'm going to end this broadcast here.